Thank you for coming on tonight. I really do not have a speech prepared, but I'm living proof of what's going on right now in America. Our country was a beautiful country, loved it. It was extremely hard to leave our home. Imagine you leave everything you have right now and go to somewhere else that you know and don't know. No matter how many times I watch this documentary, I get sentimental about it. It brings tears to my eyes, no matter how many times. I've seen it hundreds of times. Locally for us, we landed in America, and with open arms, we were received. And this is our home. You know, our kids are being raised here, our family immigrated here, and we all, you know, pretty productive in society. We love this country. We try to give back as much as he gave us, and we will never pay back what it's being given, which is freedom. Now, looking at back, seeing what happened to our country, we want to change because there were problems. We want to vote a different way, and that's how socialism got in. And it was like every other month, there were rumors, so they're going to do this in the law. Now, I don't think that ever happened here. It'll never happen here.
Right.
But then it was. And then 6 months later, I thought, that would never happen in this country. And there it was. 3 years later, we're packing up and leaving. And 20 years later, over 8 million people have immigrated the country. I don't recognize my home anymore. So looking at this changes, because I love what Tom Smogala says, I embrace change, but you gotta make change possible. So it doesn't matter which party you are, as long as change is possible. And the problem with socialism, it doctrinates you to no change in the future, just to stay in power. And people, young people voting for socialism, just doesn't see that. We saw it, we lived it, and we fear it very much. So I'm open to any questions that you guys may have.
How long have you been here?
I moved in here in 2001. Through different steps, you know, we've been here for 18 years. Initially, we were in the Philadelphia area, and we moved to Farmington in 2009.
What type of government was Venezuela before they were socialists?
Democratic Party, so it was democracy. Yeah, it was they call it back then the 21st century democracy / socialism. It was a new idea. It was all a fake. It started like that, ended up being a communism, and you still will call it the new social democracy.
So that's the term they're using here now.
Yes.
Bernie Sanders.
It is exactly the same. We heard it, we lived it,
Right.
and what's the difference into the traditional socialism? None. You know, it was just all,
It goes down the same.
sounds
path.
like a new idea. Okay, I want the new idea, I want to change, but it turned out to be the same. You know.
Can you explain to us with, well, like the leaders now that are pushing this, AOC and Bernie Sanders that are pushing this, why don't they realize that the end game is what's in inflation?
I think many people, without criticizing, that's idealistic, has an idea, and it sounds good to you. You can support it. And I can't speak for Bernie Sanders, but I suspect the idea of socialism might sound good, more people lacking less needs. The problem that's a program, that's a design that over history has shown over and over and over, it doesn't work. It doesn't last. Unfortunately, in my personal opinion, very personal, human nature cannot withstand that. Sooner or later, one is going to take advantage of the other, and it just doesn't last. Well, can you prove it? Yes, history has proven it over and over and over. No matter how good it sounds, it has a cost, and eventually will take over.
So is their thought it wasn't done right?
I believe that initially it was done right, but it has an expiration date.
Okay.
You know, it has to run out somewhere.
So as a leader, do they look for it to benefit them?
You bet. I think, I mean, it's no secret that Reach's bank accounts in Switzerland, countries that allow that kind of accounts, are held by old political people from Venezuela. I mean, they're wealthiest people in the planet. It comes from a single country. It's all corruption and robbery and taking advantage. Once you stay in power, it's just too much, you know. When I grew up, just the background, see, Venezuela is an oil producer country. You know, they just have a lot of oil, okay? And the barrel of oil was $6. When things changed when Chavez got elected over there and socialism got into power, lucky for them, the barrel shoot up to 100. This is worldwide prices, had nothing to do with Venezuela. But imagine you're making 100 times more money from one day to another. Well, you will think that country exploded in production and in agriculture and everything you can think of. Well, no, it just everything went to their pockets. They just didn't know what to do with the money. Now, when the oil barrel goes down, you can see this lack of progressive mentality and turn off into lacking toilet paper and food for the poorest people. That actually is the one that keeps voting for them. I mean, they taught kids to pray for Chavez as opposed to Jesus and God that we know. That's how bad of doctrinism we got over there. All right, sorry. Any other questions? Nah. I will try not to bore you with this.
No, it's good, it's
You're
good.
certainly not born. Do you see any hope of Venezuela making a turn?
That's a very hard question to answer, and in my mind, I gotta say, in my heart, I gotta say yes, but I gotta say it's gonna take decades, because it's not just getting rid of the current government. You have a couple generations to grow and understand what had happened in over 20 years, okay? Our kids did not live what our grandparents lived. They just know that. They don't know any better. And I think it's just spread out. So I think just to change the government is a first baby step. But to get a real change in Venezuela, you need 10, 20 years of a good path in order to get there.
Why do common people support socialism when they can see in so many other countries the end result has been disaster?
That's a good question, and I wish I had the answer, because in my mind, it's just so hard to understand it. Why would you support something that has shown? I think one of the main points is ignorance. Just looking for something new when something is not work, something for something new, looking for something new will give you the answer, but not necessarily. Understand what you're voting for, or understand what you're trying to accept. And if you understand that it's the same that has been proven over and over wrong, maybe you would raise an eyebrow and say, that might not be the path. But if you name it differently, and you know we're gonna fight this current badness that is going on, then you see in the light, as this young person in the documentary looks very confused, thinking that he's going the path of righteousness when probably you're wrong. So understanding both parties, and that's what I mean by idealism, okay? I don't think that's completely wrong. It's just being proven to be wrong and wrong and wrong and over and over and over. So that just tells you something, you know.
So you've been in America for a while, like comparing America since you've been here and now with what Venezuela was. How do we compare like with freedom and the democracy, everything, can we go down that slope as quickly as Venezuela did, do you think? Where things are at now?
You know, when you're living, I don't mean to scare people, but when you're living through it, it never goes too fast. It just feels like it's going slow. But when time passes, you look back and like, oh my gosh.
It happened very quickly.
Yes.
Just like COVID changed everything overnight.
Yes. I mean, we'll never be the same because of COVID. I'm not saying bad, but we'll never be the same. We change very quick.
Right.
Now, in Venezuela, I remember it's like next year, it's like, well, they're going to change re-election. That'll never happen. That happened. Well, it's just a change. Well, he's going to be permanently elected. Like, no, that never happened. Well, they happen.
Right.
You know, well, we'll vote against them and we win. Well, not anymore. You know, they own everything. So it just,
That's it.
it strips you little by little. That you don't think you're losing anything by losing one little bottle. You know,
Right.
and eventually, all of a sudden, you're hopeless.
Yeah. Wow. It's sobering to think about it, it really is.
I mean, when I left, I chose to leave, you know, and many of us, when I mean many of us, friends and family were, well, there's hope, people were just going for 6 months at a time. Now people are just walking out of the country, just walking to the next country and see where you can fly to the next place, and you know.
Just getting out of there, yeah. Wow.
And I have friends and families here that are engineers, lawyers, and they're working at any store or anything, just because you get a better quality of life than being there, no matter what you do.
Is there still free movement? Like is it easy for people to get out of Venezuela, or is it like, are they like locked in there, or?
Not blocked,
Okay.
but doors are closing in other countries
Mhm.
because of massive immigration. And it's getting economically difficult to people to, I'm gonna go to a different country and work and make my living there, and become, you know, legal immigrant in XYZ countries. But, you know, just from my medical school, I graduated with 300 doctors,
Mhm.
and only 5 are still in Venezuela. And the rest of them are through the entire world. I have friends in Sydney, throughout Europe, throughout Latin America and the United States, everywhere. You know. Yes, go ahead.
How are the churches in Venezuela? I know typically in communist or social countries, they try to force the churches out.
It's been a fight, okay? Venezuela was by far a 95% Catholic country, like most Latin America. And that has changed significantly. The government did fought for the longest time, the church, and every time they needed voters or whatnot, they come with a happy face, but it was all a political game, but significantly changed. Interesting enough, there is a religion down there that has a background on witchery, all right? And like I knew it existed when I was there, now it's like expanded significantly. And they pray to Chavez, which was the dictator before he passed away. I mean, they pray to him. So yeah, significant. They fight churches, they fight religions if they oppose them. So. Yes.
Was there mass murder as far as people that resisted?
There was no mass murder, but there was people that died during the. There have been big waves of protest where we felt that we were very close to overthrow the government. Not so much overthrow, but ask the government to leave, to lead us into a new elections. And during those movements, and everybody went on, we're not going to work anymore until the government stops. There were people that got killed for political reasons. Probably each time was around 20 to 50 people, you know, and that has happened probably 5 times in the past 6 years or so.
Was there was the citizenry armed at one point?
It's interesting, but one of the things that the government did was remove your rights to carry weapons. Whether you like it or not, or whether you're in favor or against it, I'm just saying that's what the government did over there. So they unarmed the common people.
They did that first. They did that
They
first.
did that first. Now, they also have people that is not under government ruling, but they are. That's the name of the documentary, colectivos. They're underground fighters for the government. They're parallel to police or military, but they're supposed to be not known. Everybody knows who they are. They're fully armed, and they are to do the dirty work of the government. Hey, we have a protest in such and such street. They will come over, destroy that. They're not recognizable because they don't belong legally to anything, but anybody knows who they are. Once you see them with the signals about you know who they are, time to walk away. They have nothing to lose. They're armed, and police and military will not touch them. So.
So I
Sorry. Go ahead, sir.
So, living here now, from what you can see, where are we at here in America right now to getting to where they got to? Like on the path? Where are we on
I
the
think
path right now?
I think we're very early. Okay. Right now, to me, the way I see it, I see deja vu. I see stuff that happens back in early 2000 before I left, and it didn't really get too bad till 2010. You know, so it's hard to put in perspective the same time frame. Okay, I think we're pretty early. I think our system will allow voters to go one way or another. All I can say that is scary because we saw this phase coming, and when it got to us, we said, "Well, we'll get out of it." And people didn't took conscious of it, and they just keep voting for the same way, and eventually there was no way to vote out of it. Okay, so I think we're pretty early if you compare it. I hate to make they're the same histories. They're obviously very different, but it just brings sad deja vus to us.
Did you hear this the same rhetoric of gun control, healthcare, all the stuff? You know what I'm saying? All the stuff to the left. You know, we want
Yes.
we want gun control for your safety. We want healthcare for everybody.
Yes.
And here in America, of course, along with all of that, you have all this equality, where we've legalized gay marriage, and now the whole transgender thing, all of that is being such a big deal in our country, to where it's like, let's build this society where, you know what I'm saying?
No, I
mean, did you
understand.
guys hear that same stuff down there? I mean, was it the same kind of rhetoric?
Many things. There was this big critique to people should not be allowed to be rich, and people should not be poor. Okay, well, I agree 100% with people should not be poor. We should give them jobs, we should let them fight for their progress, but I don't think things should be handed,
Right.
And if you want to be rich or more educated, well, I learned that in this country even more. The sky's the limit as long as you want it. You keep fighting for it.
Yes.
You can go to school, you keep working as hard as you can. You put your own limits. Over there, no, they want to cap you. Okay, not just economically, socially, religiously, in every aspect. So you couldn't progress. But then yet again, the people on the lower income or the lower ends will not make any progress up, but kind of make them feel, well, you are poor, but the people that were above you are also getting poorer too.
Right.
But, you know, that makes to me no sense, you know, and I love the idea of free healthcare, you know, but it's difficult. You can't make promises that ain't gonna happen, you know. So I think we can work in a way that to make it better for certain people that don't have free access to it, you know. And seeing healthcare in few countries, even though we can criticize as much as we want here, I mean, people here get healthcare when they need it.
That's right.
Plain and simple,
Yes.
okay? There's a lot of sides to it, but even in smallest towns like this, you can get great quality healthcare.
Yes.
You know, nothing is perfect, but you have it, you know, because I've seen it in the best hospitals in Venezuela. It's like, you can't have it because there's none, you know, when it was promised to us to be free. So, yeah, I see some of the similarities back then to what I'm hearing now, okay? But my hope is that we never get that far.
Amen.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, and I've thought about this over the last several months, several times, and talking to your relatives and friends. Having experience, like you have experience that we don't have. So in retrospect, what is the best thing for us as a society to do to put the brakes on all of this?
That's good.
See, I mean, I think personally, my mentors and grandparents, one or another, taught me that besides your belief, the two things that can give you the most powerful tools is love and education. Okay, love comes from your family, and education has to come from your family, mentors, relatives, and then on our school system. Okay, well-informed people will understand that that may not be the right way to go. Okay, if you know that in history over and over and over it's not working, and they just try to disguise it for you. So I think education is the key. It's a long-term plan, but it's the key. Yes.
Leading off of what Scott asked, do you think that there's the potential that we could go down that same slope as Venezuela with just the turn of one election?
I don't think one election can make that big of a change, but that's how it started.
Right.
Okay, and when Tom and I randomly talk about our story, he just saw what we live happening here, and he as an American naive for what happened to us, and me just learning about how the system works, we got to experience this. We got to let people know of what can happen. And the more you read, the more similarities you find throughout history. So I don't think one election will make it, but that's how it starts.
Can't rest on our laurels.
Yeah. All right, so I think education and tell your children, you know.
Amen.